Good evening, crafting friends. I'm Dorene Decibus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Funfold Friday. Boy, what a week we've had. We've had this horrible nor'easter up in the north. We had an earthquake in New Jersey today that we felt all the way up here in New Hampshire, and we had 2.5 snow days, so it's just been crazy in the Northeast. But I'm so happy to be with you, be here with you tonight. So tonight's Funfold Friday, we are going to be using the Textured Floral stamp set. And it is one that is from the Idea book and catalog. So it's a stamp set that we've had since last May, when the new catalog went live. We just make sure that's right in sight for you. It's a photopolymer stamp set, and it has the matching dies. We're also going to be using the Countryside Inn dies. I love these dies, and they just do so much. So I thought, because I had some time to play today, I thought I'd show you some cards that I've made with this set. The first one is just a really fun Z fold. So it opens up like this, but it's made with the flowers and the dies. Make sure you can see that clearly. That's the first one. I definitely used a color palette. You'll probably notice that right away. I loved the pinks and the coral, the daffodil, some of the pretty pecan and soft sea foam. They just, with this designer series paper and the stamps, they just came out so pretty. This one is kind of a funny fold. It allows you to fold this end over so you can open up the card and see the whole part of the card. It also stands, and that piece helps it as well, since it's folded not quite on the center. Here's another fun fold. I did some blending with some of the colors here, the daffodil and some coral, just to, add to that background. And then on the front, just added this little flap. It's just 1/4 of a piece of cardstock with this little flap. So easy to make. I don't know, this one might be my favorite out of the ones I made today with this set. So it just opens up, but it has some embossing on it, uses the paper, uses some of the glimmer paper. So I just really liked how this one turned out, and I love the colors. So, and then this is the last one that I worked on today, and it's another easy fold where I put some of the Daffodil Delight cardstock on the inside, stamped using the daffodil ink on the sides, and folded this so you could see that. And then I embossed with a grateful heart the silver that you might see blinging around. I don't know if you can see it, is the edge of a rib of the silver trim. It's the organza ribbon or organdy ribbon, and it has the silver trim on it. So pretty. And then for tonight's fun fold, this is what we're going to be making. And I just had a blast with this card. It's a card that I have been thinking about making for some time, this type of fold. And I don't know if I was intimidated by it or if it looked too hard, but I just wasn't sure I'd want to attempt it. But I did today, and it's not that hard at all. So let me open up this card. It's an interlocking fun fold. Let me show you what it looks like when it's standing up. You can see that W shape it makes for the accordion that's on the inside, and then we have the M shape on the outside. And let me just show it to you like this. So you have to use a 12 by 12 sheet of paper to make this card, and I'll show you how we did that, but it's a really fun card. So that's what we're making tonight. So let's talk about the cardstock that we're going to need, because we're going to need quite a bit. So let's start talking about the Boho blue cardstock. So you're going to need a piece that measures 5.5 by 12. You're going to need a piece that measures 4.5 by 5.5. Those are going to go together and both be scored. You're also going to need some scraps to die cut. I have a big piece of basic white here that we're going to need to do our stamping on. And then I'm going to need a 4 by 5.25 piece of white. I am also going to need a 2.5 by 2 3/4 inch piece. And then finally I'm going to need a 1 inch by 3 1/4 inch piece. Then for Night of Navy cardstock, I'm going to need a 3 1/4 piece by 9 inches and a 3 1/4 piece by 8.5 inches. And for Designer Series paper, I'm using 2 different designs from the Countryside Inn. This paper is actually going to be carried over into the next catalog, so that's pretty exciting. And so I used 2 different designs. You can see what it looks like on the other side, but both of these go really well with the Night of Navy and the Boho blue. So for these larger pieces, these measure 3 3/4 by 5 1/4, and this is you need 5 of these to put on all the different panels. And then we need 4 pieces that measure 2.5 by 3, and then 2 pieces that measure 2 3/4 by 3. So that's what we need for cardstock tonight. So I'm going to just set this aside for a minute, and I think what I'd like to do is get the stamping all set and done. So I am using, I think, with just about every single stamp set that's in, every single stamp that's in this stamp set. So I'm going to start. I'm going to need 2 of the larger rose-like flowers. So I'm using Flirty Flamingo to stamp these. Let me just pull my paper down. And I am I'm stamping these on this larger piece of paper so that I can just put the paper through my die cut machine. And using the larger one, this will fit right away. So I need 2 of those. That's all I need for the Flirty Flamingo. So I can put that away. Then I am going to use the Petal Pink. And with the Petal Pink, I am going to be stamping I think I need 3 altogether. Nope, I only need 1. Yeah, I only need 2 of these as well. So I'm going to stamp these right over here. The Petal Pink is a very, very light color pink, so it's not going to show up super dark from far below the camera. Just bring it up so you can see it and see the difference between the 2 pinks. I am also going to stamp the smallest flower, and I am going to need 1, 2, 3 of these. There we go. And then on this smaller piece, I am also going to stamp this image too in the Petal Pink. So we'll set that aside. So I'm done with Petal Pink. Then I am going to need my Old Olive. I am going to need 4 pieces of greenery. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's almost all of the greenery we will need. Then I'm going to need to stamp 2 of these, but I think I'm only going to have room right now to stamp 1. But I will get another piece of white to stamp the other one that I need. But I've already pre-cut them, so I'm not too worried about that. So I'll just stamp 1 for right now. Oops, wrong one. I just got some ugly green ink on my pad. That's all right. I'll wipe off. And this is one that I just have to move around and get it in the right place. There we go. And like I said, I'll stamp one of those later because I'll use all these images. I'll make the card again with all the leftovers I have. Then I'm going to need using Night of Navy, I'm going to need 2 stamens for the rose. And then I'm going to be stamping in the center of some flowers. There we go. And then I'm going to just set this aside. We're going to add our happy birthday at the top of this small piece of paper. So birthday blooms for you. And then our final piece that we need to stamp is the greeting for the outside. And I love this greeting. It says, "Every thought of you makes me smile." I can think of lots of people that would fit. So I love this card because it just has so much stamping on it. And I love that part. It also has a lot of die cutting. Okay, so the stamping is all done. I'm going to set this all aside to use later on. And now let's do some scoring, because we're going to have to score these. I'm going to put these aside, this aside, and we're going to be scoring these. So I'm going to get out my scoring tool. There we go. And my stylus. Okay, so starting with the 5.5 by 12 inch piece of cardstock, we're going to be scoring this one at 4 and at 8. And we'll set that aside. This one here on the 4.5 side, we're going to score this one at 4 as well. We're going to be hooking those two together. This piece right here is my 9-inch piece. So we're going to be scoring this at 2 3/4, 5.5, and 8.5. And this is my 3 1/4 by 8.5. We're going to score this at 2 3/4 and 5.5. So 2 3/4 and 5.5. All right. Don't worry about trying to write all of that down. I will put the measurements of all of the materials we're using tonight in the comments below the Facebook video and in the description on my YouTube channel. So you'll be able to find them there. All right, so now we need to do some scoring. So let me just, some burnishing rather. So I am going to start okay, there we go with our first one. And I'm just folding it in an accordion fold with those valley and mountain folds. Now, the first thing you want to check out is that you're going to see that we have 4 sections that are 2 3/4, and then this end piece is a 3-inch piece. And then I have 2 3/4, 2 3/4, and a 3-inch piece. I want these 2 pieces that are 3 inches to be side by side, because this is going to be the middle of my card. So let me just grab my silicone mat, and I am going to be using some white glue to hook these together. The liquid glue just really gives it a lot of strength, so I'm just going to add that, and we'll adhere these 2 3-inch pieces. And just press down and get the glue to stick. And I am going to just set this aside, again, folding it. And I'll just move that over there. All right, so this piece is going to get that 1/2 inch mark. This is also going to get connected to my 12-inch piece, because we want 4 panels that are 4 inches. And again, we're going to just be accordion folding this as well. So, let me get it on the right side. Okay, so this will be the front of the card. And then I am going to attach this right here. So I'm going to do that on my silicone mat again. Okay. If any of the glue gets on the silicone mat, it just dries and you can peel it right off. So it makes it really easy. And I am going to want this to be on the inside of my card. And the glue allows you some movement, so I didn't have it quite lined up, and I'm able to move it, so that makes it really nice. Okay, so let's just look at this. I want this to be on the inside, so I just have to fold that a little differently. There we go. Okay, we'll put that aside because I'm going to be using it again. So this is the inside of my card. And if you'll notice, for the interlocking piece, I had to cut out 2 dies in the center to fit that interlocking piece inside the card. So what I'm going to do is start by putting my paper in those two sections so that when I cut out the die, it will cut out the paper too. I found it just to be a little too difficult to try to cut the inside. I mean, it was easy to cut this, but then to get the paper lined up the way I wanted it to and cut, it just was adding too many cuts. So I decided to do it this way, where I would just cut it out with the designer series paper on it. So I'm going to line these up so that they're pretty even. Now, as I said, I am using these dies, and I am going to use tonight the third and fourth one in. So these are the two that I'm going to be using. And this die is going to go right here. And I'm just going to add, I'm just centering it using, looking at it. I'm not measuring or anything. And then what I'm going to do is put this piece through my die cutting machine. And then I'm going to use this to help me measure the other one. So, which I've already done. So what I did was I ran this through the die cut machine. And when I got this opening, I folded the opening over this one and I traced with a pencil onto the designer series paper so I could see where I needed to cut. So that's how I did that piece. Then what I did, because I decided I wanted some borders, and so I took a piece of the blue, Boho blue, and I put both of these dies centered on it and taped them down, and then created these two window frames. And I didn't do this in the first card, but I really decided I wanted to add some border to the opening so it wouldn't be so dark on the inside like it was. The big thing you want to make sure with the size of your accordion fold that's going to go with the interlocking piece, it just needs to fit through that opening. So I'm going to add some liquid adhesive, and I'm going to place these on, make it a little bit, I already had my other one put together and I realized, it looks a little dark on the inside. So I decided this might lighten it up. So let's see what it does. So that is going to fit right over this. And with it being liquid glue, you can move it if it's not lined up perfectly. Doesn't that look so much nicer with that little frame there? So I'm going to do the same over with the other one. And then all we have to do is put this all together and decorate it. This card, I am someone who loves layers, so this card definitely fits the bill for that. And the other thing I love is being able to do a lot of stamping on my cards. And I'm certainly able to do that with this one here. So we've got those two frames in. I'm going to move this out of the way. We're going to need it again. And now let's just put the rest of the designer series paper on. And I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal for that. Just want to make sure my pattern is going the same way as I put these on. So each inside panel of the card gets a piece of the designer series paper, and then the 5th one is going to go on the front of the card. This, of course, is going to be a much thicker card with all of this designer series paper and all of these layers, along with the accordion fold on the inside. So this is definitely going to take some extra postage when you go to mail it. So just be aware of that. This is another good one that would just go inside a gift bag. Okay, so now we have all of that designer series paper on. So let's just set this aside for a minute. And now we're going to do the same with this one. So these two sides are going to be attached to the inside of the card. So we need all of these to have some designer series paper as well. And remember, the 2 inner panels are the larger ones, so you need a little larger piece of designer series paper. Again, you want to watch the pattern so that you make sure they all are put in, going in the same direction. This one here has little tiny flowers on it, so you want to make sure all the flowers are standing up in the same direction. There we go with those middle pieces. Now we're going to use these smaller pieces. The middle pieces were 2 3/4 by 3, and the others are 2 1/4 by 3. All right, so we've got now all the designer series paper on here. And as I said earlier, I cut out all of the flowers and cut out some of the other dyes with the white, the blue, and the navy. So I'm just going to pull everything out. Let me bring it down so you can see it. Like I said, I made, cut a lot of different things. All the things that I showed you that we were stamping. I cut some vellum. The vellum is, I don't know if you've looked at the retiring list, but the vellum is going to be retired. That really makes me sad because I love vellum. Okay, so there's everything that I cut out earlier today. So I'm going to start with this blue here. And I'm going to start, before I put this into the into the card, I'm going to actually do my decorating with it. All right, so I am going to start with the 2 inner panels. You don't really have to decorate the inner panels if you don't want to. I decided I wanted to, so I'm just going to be adding this Night of Navy piece of foliage, and I'm going to put one on each side, and that's all I'm going to be putting in the middle sections. You'll see when you get it all together, it doesn't stand out, but I really like a finished product, and I feel without putting anything on that section, it really wouldn't be finished. I usually, when I glue these kinds of pieces down. I don't glue every piece of it. I like it to kind of lift off of the card, but because this is the center of the accordion fold, I didn't want any of it to get caught. So that is when we're, opening and closing. So those are the center pieces. Now for the inside pieces, I am going to use this. Let's put this down again. This really helps on not getting glue everywhere. And on this again, I am going to be putting a dot in lots of places. Just so that it on the inside, on the outside of the card when I decorate it, I won't be putting as much glue on as I am right now. But I want these held down on the accordion. Okay, so we've got that. And this piece is going to go like this. And then I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to add some glue to the background, the back of it. Just swirling around. You don't need a lot of this. And this is going to go right on top of that. There we go. First panel done. In the second panel, I'm going to take one of the Boho blue vines and do the same. Add some glue to it. I love the dies with the foliage. I love the flowers in this set. It's just such a beautiful set. It is carrying over into the new catalog, but the reason I'm using it tonight is that you won't be able to, once the new catalog goes live in less than a month, you won't be able to purchase the bundle at 10% off as you can right now. So if this is a set that you're interested in, a bundle, you'll want to buy it now before it you lose the 10% discount, because that is a way to save money. The same with, we have some price increases on ink refills, adhesive, paper. So if you know there's some stuff you want, like maybe another package of this designer series paper, then you are probably going to want to purchase it before the new catalog goes live. All right, let's add a flower to this. So you can see the accordion is really coming to life. So now we have 4 of the 6 panels decorated. So pretty. Now we're going to go on to these 2. Now the last one is, let me just grab what we stamped earlier. This last panel is the easy one. We're just going to add some adhesive to what we stamped, and this is just going to go right on top so that we have a greeting and a place for you to sign your name. So now we only have 1 panel left to do, and that one is going to have some more of the blue, the Boho blue vine. So again, I'm just going to dab it with some glue. I did hear a trick that a demonstrator uses with glue. I haven't tried it yet because I don't seem to have a problem getting this into small spaces. But she put some of her glue, she made a little mound of it on her silicone pad, and then took a sponge and just dabbed the sponge into the adhesive and then just sponged it onto her die pieces. So that was kind of sharp. There we go. And I'm going to add some more greenery and use the glue again, and I'm going to add 2 of these flowers. Just press it down for a quick minute, and then we'll add the glue to the back of these flowers. Liquid glue and paper, you know, often is a great choice if you need the image to really stay put on that paper. And so, because this is what we're doing, that's why I have used the liquid adhesive on this. It just works so nicely. All right, so our accordion fold is done. So there is what it looks like with the yellow all the way. I'm going to let all of that dry, and let's start on the front of the card. Okay, here we go. So we have this beautiful palette on the front of the card that is just open for so many things. So I am just going to start putting down the things I want to put down in the background. So I'm going to start with my greenery. So I have my 2 pieces here, and these are big enough that I'll just use some seal on. It's going to have everything on top of it. We're only going to see a little bit showing out. So I'm going to have 1 piece up here towards the top, and I'm going to have 1 piece here towards the bottom. Then we're going to start putting in some of our different pieces of colored greenery, I guess I'll call it. I didn't cut all of this in green. I used the different kinds of colors of cardstock that correspond with what is in this card. And as I said on the front, I am not going to be gluing every piece of this down because I want some of it to be able to be loose. That way I can put things under it, and it just will give the card a little bit more dimension on the front. So we'll pick this one up, and this one is going to go towards the top. So let me just hold those pieces down that I did adhere with glue. There we go. Then I'm going to take the Boho blue, And do the same thing. Again, not put glue everywhere. And this is going to go diagonally across from the white. So as you can see, this card is not difficult to make. It's just time consuming because of all the things that I've cut out and I have added to this card and all the layers. You wouldn't have to necessarily do that, but it is, this kind of card gives you that opportunity. So again, I'm not going to glue everything down on this piece either. And this piece is going to go over to the side a bit. So these are just all of our bottom layers of foliage and greenery. I'm going to add some vellum here. I'm going to add some vellum coming out here and coming out here. So I think I'll just add that. I could cut this and not use the whole piece, but I just like the fullness that the whole piece gives. So that's going there. And then this piece, I think I am only going to use a little bit of this piece. So I am going to just chop that off because the card is starting to really fill up now. So the adhesive will show through on the vellum, but the pieces where I've put the adhesive, where I put the glue, will not. Okay, now we just have to add the flowers. So I'm going to add some glue to the stamens. I did these in navy, again, to tie in the different colors. Okay, so this piece here is going to be going right about here. So I'm going to add that. Hold it down for just a minute. I am going to add my first flower right here. And my second flower, I'm going to be adding dimensions to it, to give it a little bit of height. And we're going to end up with just a gorgeous card. So this would be a card, again, because it takes so much longer to make. It's not a card you would want to make 100 of, but it's certainly a card you can make on a snowy day, put away for someone who you really love and want to have something super special. So I'm going to put this right here. I'm not going to push it all the way down yet because I have some other flowers I want to put in, and I cut some extras just in case. So I'm going to add this one is going to go right in here. And this one I'm going to put up with a dimensional. All right. And this is just going to sneak under that one. I can press that one down. Look at that beautiful bouquet on the front of this card. Isn't that just gorgeous? All right, so now we can add our greeting to the front. It's going to go right here. And I am going to be putting some adhesive here. And then I'm going to be adding a couple of dimensions. I love the dimensionals. All right, and this is going to go right across, right here. And then I'm going to add a little bit of bling on the front as well. And then all we have left to do is to put the accordion in the middle, the interlocking piece. So we'll put a larger one there and see if we can there we go. So that is the front of the card. So pretty. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, so now to get this interlocking piece in, I am just going to bring this through that center piece. And it fits. There's plenty of room. I just want to make sure this is centered on both sides. And what's going to happen as we open this up is this piece here, and this is where you tell if you got your folding correct, is going to be adhered here while that piece is adhered here. So I'm just going to turn that over, and I am going to use my Stampin' seal. And I am going to, again, making sure this piece is centered, I am going to align this on that panel, but I'm not going to push it down. Now I'm going to pull this through so I can do the same thing over here. The big thing you want to watch on this is that you're centering it into your window here so it can get through really nicely. And then I'm going to make sure this is here so that when I bring my card and open it, so you can see it's going to look like this, like I showed you before, has that nice W and the M. It's going to look like this from the inside, and it closes right up for the card here on the front. So that is it. So let me just kind of open. So this one has the frame. I really like that frame inside. So there's the inside of that one, and here's the front. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this extended session of Fun Fold Friday. We did make a more complicated card tonight, but you know, these longer and more complicated cards are just, they end up so special, and the recipient really appreciates getting them. So again, thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you have a fabulous weekend, and I will be back here Sunday night for Simply Stamping Sunday. It's a new month, new stamp set, so make sure you join me at 7 o'clock. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.